So our thing today is about no money marketing. And I'm going to start with introducing our panel. We have a lovely panel. Michelle Katz, who you've all, have you ever anyone taken a class with Michelle here at Art Center? Yes. Michelle, attorney. She knows what's good, what's not about you using stuff and people using your stuff, IP and copyright. We have Seth Maitland's here. The guy who is basically, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be drinking water in bottles, we'd still be drinking out of a tap. So he'll tell you why. So you can blame him for, well, oh, okay.
Many things.
Yeah, anything you want.
Many horrible things. And his red shoelaces. And over here, oh, you guys are like slippery. Here we go. And we have Adam and Ryan over here from APL, Athletic Propulsion Lab. And they're going to talk to you about two things, APL and Beard Gang. Yes, it's true.
Clearly.
This does not come off.
It doesn't.
Well, not unless I pull really hard.
I still don't think it would.
So we're going to start with this.
I don't think that's meant to hold water. I think this is.
What?
This
Just put it between your legs.
Wall.
So we're going to just do a quick short bio of all our panelists, and then we're going to go into major questions about what you're here for. Then at the end, we'll do a Q&A, so you can just come up, well, not come up, but ask a question, because this is the time to ask it, because you don't have these people back here at your disposal for free after your sweet little lunch. And, okay, we're going to start with Michelle. She's going to give you a quick bio? Yes, quick bio.
So I am an intellectual property lawyer. I've been in practice about 30 years. I first did union side labor law, and then I was at the studios for 12 years, and I left to do tech law and to help start incubators and work with incubators, which quickly turned into working with designers and inventors and tech people, which is what I still do. I've taught at Art Center for 13 years, and I also teach at California College of the Arts, where I do law and business for artists and designers.
I'm Seth Matlins. I was, in fact, the third person in the marketing department for Evian when probably none of you knew what Evian was, and you certainly didn't know why you should be drinking water out of a small bottle. Went from, I'm a marketer. That is what I have always done throughout my career. I went from Evian into the sports business, where I represented athletes and marketers who were trying to figure out how to tell their story around the narrative of sports. So if you look at the US Open and you see the sponsors there, we can put it as that at its simplest. From there, I moved out to LA to run a nonprofit called Rock the Vote, which sought to get young people more actively involved in the civic lives of their communities, both locally and nationally. Moved from a nonprofit to a for-profit business called Creative Artists Agency, where I started the marketing department. And again, my clients were not fancy writers, producers, directors, musicians, actors. They were the biggest brands in the world. Did that for about 9 years, became the chief marketing officer for Live Nation, which is the largest concert promoter in the world. And along the way, had 2 babies. Well, I didn't, but and having become a father, everything in my world changed. And I know that sounds cliche, but it is true. And so I gave up a traditional marketing job to take a non-traditional marketing job, which is about making the world a better place, which I think is fundamentally a marketing challenge. For the last 4 years, I've been what's probably a feminist activist, and I currently have a piece of legislation in the US Congress with bipartisan support that seeks to build a legislative framework around ads that Photoshop the people in them. And we'll talk more about that.
So I'm Adam Goldston. This is my brother Ryan Goldston. We're the co-founders of Athletic Propulsion Lab and Beard Gang as well. We created the first shoe that instantly makes you jump higher, and also the first shoe that instantly makes you run faster. Our basketball shoe, which was the concept one, is the only shoe ever banned by the NBA for performance enhancement reasons. And yeah, the average athlete gets 1 to 3.5 inches of instant increase. and the average increase in mile time in our running shoes is decreases 9 seconds.
Yeah.
And so also we created a company called Beard Gang, which was a joke amongst my brother, myself, and my friends, and now is the most mentioned term in the world regarding a man's face on social media. And we have a licensing deal and distribution deal with the NHL, the NFL, one of the fastest growing streetwear brands in, I guess, the world, but definitely in America. And we just closed a grooming deal, so we're going to make everybody's beards more luxurious.
So we're going to start with these two guys, but before we start, if you had your own hashtag, what would it be?
Beard Gang.
That beard thing? What would yours be?
Adam's would definitely be Beard Gang, without a doubt.
Okay, if it wasn't Beard Gang, your own personal hashtag, what would it be?
Hard work. I don't know. I don't know. It would be hard to answer what would be my own personal hashtag. It's just not working.
Oh, here you can have mine.
No, it works. It
Okay.
works. Just cut out for a second.
What is it? Can't be Beard Gang.
It's like what Ryan said, hard work. Like we.
Okay.
So it's a long road for everything. Like there's so much on the back end. So
Okay. Yours. What would your hashtag be?
Give back. At Give Back.
Okay. Seth?
I have a blog that I wrote once in 2009, and it's I'mSoFascinating.com.
There we go. Okay, so from there, we're going to go to these two fascinating guys here. Tell us about APL and how you monetize the whole ban by the NBA, sorry, Asian Canadian accent came out, how you monetize that without using money.
Yeah, so a little bit of background. Adam and I grew up around the sneaker industry, and we're actually mirror image identical twins. So our dad created the Reebok Pump LA Gear lighted shoes, and we were actually the first product testers for the LA Gear lighted shoes for kids. So I'll never forget my dad, when we had to be 4 or 5 years old, brought home each of us a sample of the lighted shoes, the first kids prototypes, brings it to us, we each put on a pair, we go into the bathroom, close the door, jump on the counter so that we could see the lights as we're stomping around. And I say to Adam, like, Adam, can you see my lights? He said, yeah. He's like, Ryan, can you see mine? I said, yeah. But we couldn't see our own because they were in the back of the shoe. So we walk outside and we're like, Dad, we love the shoes, but we can't see the lights. So we told him you should move the lights from the back to the side of the shoe so you can see them. So he called the factory, moved the lights, sold millions of pairs, and we like to take credit for that and say that's when we started in the industry. So for us, sports and sneakers have always been a passion of ours. And Adam and I went to USC. We were both two-sport athletes. We played basketball and football. And I don't know if a lot of you guys saw when we walked in, but we're not the world's tallest guys. We're not 6'8", we're not 6'10". So for us, we always used anything we could to try and improve our performance, make us jump higher, make us perform better on the court. And for us, there was never anything that instantly gave us that advantage. So when we were starting a company, and being that sneakers were our passion, athletics as well, we focused on us as consumers, what is it that we wanted? And we always wanted a shoe that would instantly make us jump higher. So we spent all of our time in college, in addition to doing schoolwork and sports, trying to create a technology that would instantly make you jump higher. And Adam and I started our company in March 2009. We graduated in May 2009, or we graduated May 15th, and our first day in the office was May 18th. We started selling product June 9th of 2010, and then we got banned October 19th of 2010. And that was the day that really changed our lives. When we got banned by the NBA that day, it was the #1 news story in the world. It was the number 2, 3, and 17 most searched terms on Google. It had a volcanic rating on Google. There was over 1 million articles posted about us and the NBA ban within 10 days. It was the first time the NBA had ever been the #1 trending business organization, league, anything on social media. So they benefited from it, we benefited from it, and we got an exponential increase in sales. And for us, it was really an amazing thing because it propelled us from being this niche brand that was known by only really hardcore sneakerheads and basketball players to something that was really known globally. And we use that as a diving board, as a platform, to take ourselves and our brand to the next level. I mean, the week we got banned by the NBA, I think Adam and I cumulatively slept about 10 hours that week, like the two of us combined. And so from there, we set our eyes on creating an athletic brand. And the fact of the matter is the way we've done it is we've focused on putting our money and time into creating the best possible products as opposed to putting the money into marketing. Because we felt like if we could create the best possible products, if we could create technologies that were groundbreaking, that would bring people to the brand, it would create an organic buzz, and if we were doing stuff the right way through social media, through building our buzz a certain way, that in itself it would be the marketing that we would need as opposed to throwing dollars at something. And as a lesson for the brand and where we've gone, I mean, we've had tremendous success within basketball. This past June, so June 17th, we launched our men's and women's running line. And for us, we've taken a similar approach. We've launched with 3 different models, one of which is a shoe that instantly makes you run faster. On average, the people got a 9-second decrease in their mile time when wearing our shoes. And we've taken the same type of approach. We've really pushed the product and the design of the shoes and watched that push the brand as opposed to throwing money at something and hoping that that elevates it. And I think when you do it this way in an organic setting, in an organic way, it causes people to connect with the brand in a better way, and it allows you to do something sustainable. Like when we look at what we do as a brand, it's always looking at it as a marathon as opposed to a sprint, because there's a bunch of different ways where you can maximize right now, but it might not be what's best for your brand in the long run, and that's really the approach we've taken. I think Adam can talk a little bit about that in terms of what we've done with our other brand, Beard Gang, because the social media component of that has been absolutely insane for the brand.
I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
The first week, the day that you found out you were banned, you sat down. What was the first thing you needed to say to each other?
The first thing we did is asked ourselves, is this real life? And the second thing we said is, how can we monetize this? Like it was such a big event because, like Ryan said, we hadn't spent any dollars on marketing. We didn't have any experience, which ended up being a good thing, because if somebody would have had the type of experience, they may have said like, oh, we got to try to diffuse the situation. But for us, we said, we should embrace this and figure out how we can ride this wave and use that to help the brand grow. And so the second that it happened, we called our web tech guy and said, change the entire image of the website to big banned by the NBA stamp. And so we did a big stamp right across the website that said banned by the NBA, and we changed that within 7 minutes of the ban. And then
the problem was
then our website
Wow.
crashed, and
for 8 hours.
For 8 hours, and the top 10 linking sites crashed as well from all the traffic because we weren't set up on the right servers for it. And so from there, we tried our best to do as many interviews. I don't know how that happened. We tried to do as many interviews as possible where we could tell our story in a certain way. We weren't doing any interviews where people wanted to paint it as a negative thing. It's like if people wanted our story, we were going to do the interviews where we could tell it, but we weren't going to do any of the, like, I don't know what the right word was, but any type of interview that would paint a negative picture.
Right.
And we had shirts that said banned by the NBA that we were selling on the site too. So
we were selling them and they weren't even printed yet.
Yeah.
Wow. So what was your first interview? What was the first one you agreed to?
The first one we agreed to, I believe, was CNBC. I think we did CNBC with Darren Rovell, and he was like the top sports journalist at the time, and he wanted to tell a really cool story about it, and so that was the first one that we agreed to do.
Wow. So now when it did happen, how did you then corral all that stuff that's floating out there, all that back to you? Did you have through your Twitter? Let's see, Instagram maybe.
Instagram wasn't around back then.
Yeah. Facebook.
So for us at that time, Twitter was the main component, and we had brought on, just for the one event, we had brought on a PR firm, and they tracked it back and were doing all of the storing for us. It was one of Ryan's old professors, actually,
At USC.
at USC. Like, Ryan had reached out to me and said, we know this is about to happen, and
Like, what do we do?
what do we do? We need help. We don't know what to do.
because we were two 23-year-old guys like that just felt like there was a huge opportunity for something like for the brand and with this to happen. So we wanted to make sure we went about it in the right way. And Twitter was huge for us because we were constantly posting the links for people to see and keeping them apprised of all of this information. But the PR firm for a story of this size was key because there's no possible way that we could have managed that ourselves.
Yeah, we were two guys in a small 45-foot office, 45 square foot office. Like, we couldn't do it ourselves. And at the time, the first like big piece on, I believe it was Yahoo, about the ban happening was the third most shared article in the history of Facebook at that time. I mean, obviously, I think now there's been things that have killed it, but at the time,
cute cat or something.
Oh, sigh. So how many shoes did you sell?
we sold 9 months worth of inventory in 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then how long was the lag time to get back new?
Well, I mean, for the production, just the way it works, it's typically 90 to 120 days. So there's a period of about that amount of time. And at the time when we were selling our shoes, we were selling them for $300. So it was literally double the price of any basketball shoe on the market. And the interesting thing about that is when I was in college, one of my concentrations was entrepreneurship. And the basis for my business plan in school for APL was that we were going to sell our shoes exclusively online through our website. We were going to create our shoe that instantly made you jump higher, and we were going to sell it for $300. And at the time, because this was before anyone else was doing stuff like that, it was something that was doubted by my professors. And they didn't believe that this would necessarily work. One, because they didn't think we could create a shoe that made you jump higher. That was the main thing. Then it was also the fact that we wouldn't be able to sell exclusively through our website. And then the third point was obviously the $300 price point. And I think the fact that we did that, all three characteristics are what made the brand special and what kind of even made the story that much crazier, because we're getting all this traction, The only place you can get this product is through our website. So we can control it in the way we wanted. And the reason we did that, and it kind of goes back to the marketing and the branding of the company, is that we wanted to control the image that the consumer had of the brand and the experience that they had, as opposed to putting it through other channels of distribution. And because of that, when we were out of inventory, there was a lot of people that couldn't get that experience for about 90 to 120 days. But it was still an amazing experience for the brand and really the launching point of where we are today.
We're going to have a QA after all of this, so we're going to come back to, but let's talk about Beard Gang.
Okay.
I'm the silent partner.
So, like I said in the intro, it was a joke for me, my brother, and about 7 of my friends. And we created these shirts where it was basically just a caricature of my face. It said # Beard Gang. On the back it said, "Still gritty, leave the pretty to the females," which was a rap quote. And we made it for fun. Like, it was literally supposed to be a joke. Like, make these 10 T-shirts. Nothing will happen. And then I posted a picture on Twitter because I had a pretty strong following at the time. And everybody started asking, like, where can I get the shirt? Where can I get the shirt? And so I talked with Ryan and a bunch of my friends, and I said, well, why don't we make a couple of them? Made 25 of them, put them up on my Twitter, sold them out in 5 minutes. Then we re-upped, we did 50, sold them out in 20 minutes. And then after that, Ryan and I were like, you know what, we should start a real company. We started as a real company in March 1st, 2012 is when we started shipping product. We filed for the trademark, copyright, and for Beard Gang. Got both of them. We have the trademark for the silhouette of a beard too, which is pretty insane.
Wow.
And so if you want a caricature silhouette of a beard, you basically have to go through us. And I think that's why the NHL came to us.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, as soon as we launched the website, the hardest thing to do in business is get traffic to your website. Like, unless you're doing like some type of like viral video that's fueled by like a bunch of extra sources, but it's really hard to build organic traffic. And we started getting a ton of organic traffic to our site, and it started to blow up on Instagram because people wanted to be a part of it because there was nothing really for bearded guys. And like it was crazy. I guess we hit it at the right point, but it just started to grow and grow and grow, and everything that we did fueled it. And then my personal account got huge. Beard Gang account got pretty big, and now there's over 960,000 mentions alone on Instagram for Beard Gang.
Unique,
Wow.
unique mentions.
Yeah, and so it's crazy how something that we did for fun has turned into something that's such a great revenue stream for us, because most of our stuff is all licensing.
So who are you partnering now with?
We have a licensing and distribution deal with the NHL. It's basically the same thing with the NFL. The licensee for the NHL distributes our streetwear line, and we just 2 days ago committed to a grooming line that's going to be launching in top tier department boutique and salon stores. Start with like 100 150 stores, our own blends. And so it's just crazy how something we did for fun has turned into what it is today.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you there.
Yeah.
Did you license the phrase from the rap song?
He's actually a friend of ours, and he let us use it, but we had to ask him for it. Yeah.
That ties into your point.
She'll come over and kick
Yeah.
you.
No, we had to ask him for the permission, because it was a recognizable line. People knew it was Rick Ross's, and so he definitely would have been entitled to something if we didn't give it to him.
Grooming products.
Yeah. No, though, that was for the initial T-shirts.
Okay.
There's just a few of them though.
Yeah.
So now you have both businesses.
We do.
Do you,
do.
and so basically your hashtag is hard work. Do you guys? When was the last time you took a vacation?
I mean, we get to we don't take vacations per se, but we get to do really exciting things. And so for us, like for instance, today we're speaking here, and then from here we're going to New York, then we go to Milan, then we go to Barcelona, and then we go to London. So for most people that'd be a vacation. For us, it's meetings back to back in every place we go. And so, but we haven't taken like an official day off since, I mean, unless one of us was really, really sick, since the day we started.
Yeah. You don't need a
We say
vacation.
airport hours Sunday to Sunday.
God.
And that's why it's so hard to find people that can work with the way that we do, because we keep a really tight team, and we make everybody have to commit to the same way that we commit. Like people with like families and whatnot, I don't know if our lifestyle would work, because it's so constant what we need, and since we keep such a tight team, that everybody that comes and joins the team has to know what they're signing up for.
Right. Do you have siblings?
Not just Ryan and I.
Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to move over here, because since we had that copyright question, to Michelle, because there was the where you guys were controlling your image.
Yeah.
Right. And so what she's going to talk about might actually have some bearing on what happens to your image with someone who might infringe on it. So, would you like to start, or would you like me to ask you a question first?
Go ahead and ask.
Okay, let's talk about Instagram. All right, small, medium, large companies like yourself. I've seen companies that take images and say we're inspired by, but there's no credit. It could be a photograph, it could be artwork, but it's for a company. It's not your personal work. It's not your personal Instagram. That's different. But for a company to use someone else's work without crediting, what does that mean? Is it legal? Is it okay? Say someone takes their shoes and puts it on their site, on their Instagram, and say, we did this, or we were a part of it. What would you do?
Well, not exactly sure. So let's take it back a step,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So I'm gonna erase your question and get back to it. Okay. All right. So to me, I think there's two issues that we want to talk about. One is that you want to be able to use your work and have it not, and not be sued by other people. You want to be able to use work that you find, you want to be able to use work and not get sued, and you don't want people to use your work without your permission. So in both cases, you have to be sure that your work is protected and protectable, and also that you're not using work that is protected and is not ethical for you. You don't want to be unethical. You want to make sure that you're properly getting the permission you need, like they did.
Right.
So what I've found teaching here and working is that we all have these crazy ideas about what's okay to use and what's fair use. So I want to kind of go through some of the myths really fast and then suggest some things that you can do to be sure that it's okay to use works that you find on the internet or that you find in different places. So the first thing is, how many people think that if you are not making any money and you credit the author and you find something on the internet, that it's okay to use it? You're wrong. Okay, so how many people think that if you're absolutely a nonprofit, that it's okay? Good, because that's not the case. How about if you substantially alter the image? Let's say you make at least 50% of it different, and you're not making any money, it's okay. You're also wrong. No, that doesn't matter. How about if you're only going to use 30 seconds or less of some music? Is that all right? 15 seconds? Okay. Well, what if, okay, you're going to make a collage, and so there's so many images that, you know, somebody would hardly even see the image. So you're using multiple images. Is that all right?
Depends on the end use.
Really? What would be an okay end use?
Fine artists do it all the time.
And that would be okay?
It depends on the fine artist and what people feel, but I haven't heard of anyone in a museum getting sued over having images from newspapers that they grabbed to place into a collage that they created.
Okay, so in some instances, okay, I can't say that's right or wrong because that's a nuanced explanation, which is, it is nuanced. Okay, now how about if we change, if we're using a quilt, for example, and we change at least 7 elements of a quilt? That could be good, right? We change the elements. Okay, how about if we are a student? And so for a student work, we're just putting our portfolio online. So everything was for student projects. All of it was student projects. So is that all right? No, it's not. Okay, now we are putting shoes online because we really like them, and we're talking about people's shoes. So we put Nike online, and we're talking about, like, these are really awesome, and this is how I would make Nike shoes. So I'm putting my display of my version of Nike shoes online. Is that okay? What do you think? No, it's not okay. Why would it not be okay? Well, because it's their trademark. So that might be confusing the public into thinking it's their trademark. So there's a variety of things. We just scampered on over into the trademark area, and we were earlier talking about copyright fair use. But these are all issues, and what we find is that it's our nature to skew things in a way that makes us feel that we're right, as opposed to challenging ourselves to think, uh-oh, I might not be right. And the answer is that with fair use, and that's the term that we've kind of put into our heads, that it's okay. There is a part of the copyright law which says that sometimes, for certain public policy reasons, it's okay to use creative works without the author's permission. But I want to tell us now, let's get away from the legalese, even though I'm a lawyer, and let's do this. Let's say that these are the real fundamental rules. Don't worry about what the law says. Let's do our own set of rules which say that if there is a work of art or a creative work, whether it's online or in a magazine or in a newspaper, and you know who the author is, that unless you are absolutely using it to comment about the merit of that work, unless that's your point, then you need to contact that author or that creative artist and get permission. And if you aren't going to do that, and you're not able to do that, and you can't find out who that author is, then you need to consider, perhaps, going to creativecommons.org and finding some royalty-free art or music or images to use instead. Because, in fact, here are the basic rules. You really can't use someone else's creative work for your creative purposes. Now, of course, there is the example of the photographer who, I'm blocking out his name, Richard Prince, right, who took the photos of Jamaican Rastafarians and colored on them and said, okay, but I changed them, and so it's fair use. And he won. So, of course, there are exceptions. There are reasons, you know, and ways in which you can make it fair use. But you know what? You don't want to be the one in court. You don't want to be the one getting sued. And there are people who change music or who are DJs, right, or who make mixes, and they're okay. But that's because there's an etiquette in the music industry that makes that okay. But the Supreme Court ruled that using 3 notes of music without permission is considered an infringement. 3 notes. So, yeah.
What was the problem with the student displaying their own work? I mean, is the
A student can display your, yeah.
school asserting ownership?
No, the school, especially Art Center, does not claim any ownership of student work. However, if you, as a student, have done creative work by using other people's work, right, doesn't mean that it's okay. That's not inherently fair use. So when it's in a class and you're commenting and working on it and discussing it and you're turning it in, that's one thing. But when you put it online, all of a sudden you're saying, here it is to the world. And there are disclaimers you can use, but you don't want to make that part of your work. Yeah?
How does Shepard Fairey get away with it?
Okay, so,
He basically pilfers from everyone and everything.
right. So there are elements of fair use that we can discuss another time. But what I'm saying as a prudent and a kind of a careful and efficient way, you want to carefully consider work that you use in your business practice, unless you get really adept at understanding the criteria for fair use and the practical implications of going into that territory. So Shepard Fairey goes through the elements of fair use and most often adheres to them, which is that he's making a public policy decision, right? So he's making a commentary about the work that he is using and thereby transforming the work. But that's a long discussion that I think we better move on for, right?
Well, because this panel is about no money marketing.
Right.
And
So we'll get back to that. So right.
Oh,
so,
no.
okay.
No, but the question about you're talking about is exactly that. No money marketing does not mean using someone else's work for free. Right. That's not money marketing. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so fair enough, right. So, but what you can do, by the way, is you can go to creativecommons.org and you can find a variety of images, music, and text. Because remember, you can't just use a quote. You can't use sentences, even phrases without permission. That would also be copyright infringement. So if you go to Creative Commons, they have a variety of licenses. Okay, and also photographs, images, artworks, illustrations, articles. And within Creative Commons, there's royalty-free, and there are also a variety of licenses which will let you use it and let you alter it, or let you use it as is, or let you resell. And at Creative Commons, you can find an enormous quantity of works you can use for reuse commercially and non-commercially. So that's what I really recommend.
One quick question. Have you had an instance that came up that would explain everything about one of your clients finding their work somewhere and being used without a credit?
Yeah, absolutely. So constantly, I would say every single week, my clients find their work, and my students every week find people who especially small businesses, who will find art they like on the internet and assume that it's free to use. Because that's kind of the common sentiment in the country, that if it's on the internet, it's free to use. So people all the time will grab images and text from the net and use it on t-shirts, on album covers, on placemats, even on signage. And that's why it's very important for you to register copyright in your work. Because if you register copyright and you send them a note saying, hey, I got a registered copyright, which means I could get huge money from you unless you listen to me. And what I'm telling you now is for you to either stop using it or to make an agreement with me about your use. And then you can make a deal. And I don't recommend that anybody actually go to court. Court is a win for lawyers. But copyright is a tool that you can use to say, look, I have this registration and the law is on my side, so let's get real and let's work this out. So it's a win-win for everybody that way. But yeah, people use your work all the time.
Question, what if it's,
Oh.
let's say,
Oh, it's okay. We're going to take questions at the end. Is that okay? Because then we can come back and can ask, so that we can move this through. We call Seth. Seth, let's talk about, you had huge companies behind you, with you, promoting, marketing the products that you had. Now, do you want, well, let's talk from there to now where you are with no money marketing on the act that you're trying to pass through Congress.
Yes. I don't believe there is any such thing as no money marketing. There isn't. I mean, I don't say it to be funny, though I like the laughter. It feels good up here. There is no such thing. You're spending something on it. Maybe your time. You are giving something to it. If you have no money marketing, then you are selling nothing. My out-of-pocket costs over 3 years to get to bipartisan congressional sponsorship of a federal piece of legislation were zero. The time I spent that I didn't bill to somebody else was extraordinary. I would also, I would, for the sake of the conversation here, I would disagree with something my colleagues on both sides said. You don't want to be the one getting sued most of the time. Sometimes you do want to be the one getting sued because that is somebody else doing your marketing for you. The strategic use of controversy, which these guys spoke to so succinctly with the ban, can be incredibly valuable. We had a business. It did not work. One of the we were making shirts, feel-good shirts for women and girls. We made one shirt that it said, "Suck it, Barbie" on it. I always meant to send it to Mattel. I wanted them to sue me. I wanted them to sue me. I wanted them to pick on me. It would have been the greatest thing for my business because my liability was limited. I hadn't sold anything. I hadn't made anything, and it was, in my mind, not about their doll, but about a girl who had been mean to me named Barbie. The other thing that I would say, to these guys is they put their marketing dollars into their product. Without a great product, they wouldn't have sold shit. Can I say shit? Yes. Because if I can, I may just throw down the F-bomb just to see how far we can go. Right? That there's the notion that marketing is baked into product today. It used to be distinct and different. It's not distinct and different anymore. The fastest way to kill a bad product is with good marketing, is a phrase out of like Mad Men era advertising. It holds true today. There is no such thing as no money marketing. There may be no out-of-pocket dollars, but there's currency being exchanged. Exactly.
Keep going. Go more.
What do you want? Go ahead, ask me something provocative.
Let's, provocative.
Not Avion.
Okay, social media for you on the. Okay, how are you pushing out truth in advertising? How are you pushing out with no? You're saying no money, but what is your time? What are you doing?
We are embracing the strategic use of controversy and the strategic use of sticks in people's eyes. So, 3 weeks ago, so the bill was introduced at the beginning of April. I will share with you that we have no false expectation that this bill will become a law. We are dealing with the U.S. Congress, who cannot pass minimum wage reform, immigration reform, anything. It's the U.S. Congress. We are using the potential for that regulation to scare industry. So our whole premise is, my premise is that when you Photoshop a six-pack, if you Photoshop their body onto me, you're lying, okay? And that is not a First Amendment right, because it is commercial speech. It is, in fact, already controlled by the FTC under Sections 5 and 18 of their mandate. It is false and unfair advertising, and it is doing extraordinary harm to our kids in particular, but to probably everybody in this room. None of us, I suspect, except these guys, because they're quite fit, have looked at any of these ads and not felt less than about ourselves. And it sits inside our heads, and it is a disease, and it is an epidemic, and it is literally, literally, literally killing people. And the ad industry has ignored the ethical mandate, the moral mandate, and pleas from researchers, psychologists, psychiatrists, the CDC, the WHO, the American Medical Association, and said, I'm selling my widgets. I don't think they do it out of a malice. I think they do it out of benign neglect and the absence of accountability. So we are ultimately trying to get them to take accountability. It will be easier for me, ultimately, and our allies, to convince 6 general counsel at L'Oreal and Unilever and the like that the threat of litigation and regulation is real enough, it will be easier to do that than convince Congress to vote on this. But we're using Congress to move that down. 3 weeks ago, we began our self-regulatory effort, and we began a petition to Dove, whose Real Beauty campaign has gotten a lot of press over 10 years. And we launched something that we call the Truth in Advertising Heroes campaign. Rolls right off the tongue. Doesn't really, it's a terrible name. But what we were trying to do was say, hey, if you step up and do the right thing, and I'll tell you what those two things are, it's really simple, you're gonna be a hero, right? You're going to be representing the people you're selling to, not just selling to them. So we're saying do two things. If you Photoshop, if you must, and we're not talking about cleaning up flyaway hair, making a blue sky bluer. It's changes to shape, size, proportion, color, enhancement, or removal of features. Tell us you did it. Photoshop and tell. Just put a label on it. Because when we confuse an ideal with what's real, that's when problems really get going. It's like chasing a greyhound chasing that mechanical rabbit. They're never going to catch it. And those greyhound, they don't feel good about themselves. The second thing we're asking is that you not run those ads where my kids can see them. I call that secondhand smoke media. So, as a matter of strategy, I'm leaning into tobacco. And I am making the case, or beginning to try and make the case, that this is the new tobacco, that this is the greatest public health crisis facing our country today. And I might be wrong, but I'm not wrong by 3. There aren't 3 things bigger. So we launched it with Dove because we thought they'd say yes, and we wanted to get momentum. But Dove has said nothing. They have not replied. We have been on Good Morning America twice, in Time, Forbes, every fashion vertical, refinery, fashionista. We have gotten arguably $50 to $70 million worth of PR domestically in the last month. And Dove said nothing, but a company called ModCloth, who you guys may know, ModCloth, they are heroes. They saw our Dove petition on the 3rd day and said, we're in, we'll sign. And they stepped up and they signed. And they were really the drivers of that press, because they said, we have a responsibility to the audience. We have a responsibility to this audience. And they're heroes, and I'll be forever grateful to them for their extraordinary work. So let's all go to modcloth.com afterwards. And then we'll launch a litigation. Sadly, I think, our litigious culture is so out, I'm gonna do it, get ready, it's out of fucking control. That was the F-bomb I promised earlier.
Fuck yeah.
I'm going to go cone of silence here. Anybody said, can I do that? Like, is that legal?
Yeah.
We're going to sue the FTC for breach of fiduciary responsibility to the American consumer. Because they suck, because they are afraid of being defunded by Republicans in Congress. Now, by the way, I'm an progressively social Democrat. So, this is not about politics. This is about change. I don't need to monetize this in a traditional way. Everybody says, why would you sue the FTC? They have no money. I'm not looking for money. I'm looking for change. I'm looking to save my kids' lives, because my kids are 7 and 8, and I'm losing control. And in fact, 2 days before our congressional briefing, I was putting my daughter to bed, and she looked at me and she says, Daddy, do you think I'm ugly? She didn't ask me if I thought she was pretty. She asked me if I thought she was ugly. She is 8. She is in a media bubble. She is protected. She is nurtured. She is loved beyond love. But she doesn't see herself. My kids are African American. My ex-wife and I are not. She doesn't see herself reflected in culture. Now, that's not just a Photoshop issue. That's a broader issue. But at 8 years old, she's wondering if she's ugly. My son is 7.5. He says to me, Daddy, I wish I was skinny like Elsa. I tried to explain to him that if Elsa stood up, she'd fall over, right? You know, if she was human. But this is, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. So let's bring it back. There is no, did I say there's no such thing as no money marketing?
Yes.
That's what I meant.
Thank you. So we're going to open it up for questions, and lady in the front.
I have a question, for instance,
Yes.
for music. Let's say a piece is, or a part of a piece, like definitely way over 3 notes, is copied from another source of music that is not trademarked or copyright.
For the last 40 plus years, music or any creative work is protected by copyright the moment it's created, and registration is a formality. So I wouldn't assume that it's not protected by copyright.
Just a really tactical example, when we were doing our t-shirt line, we were putting slogans on like, don't hate on my happy, suck at Barbie, we talked about, not perfect, just amazing, right? Things that we wanted our daughter to think, feel, be, and do. And my trademark attorney said to me, look, you know, we'll find out in court if this works, but he said, write poetry. It doesn't have to be good poetry that has these phrases in it. Repeat it several times, put it on the site in the dark of night so that nobody has to see it. And it is, exactly to your point, in that moment, it has been, you know, copyrighted.
Mike.
Hi, my name is Mike. Quick question for the whole panel. So talking about what you guys are doing, you guys sound like you went to business school. You're millennials. You happen to be in the right place. You were ready. Kind of what Malcolm Gladwell talks about, practice and really being into this. And you're talking with the nonprofit sector. Being that we don't necessarily sell products, some of us do. Some people here design products, but a lot of us are image makers. And where maybe depending on the type of work that we do want to court controversy. Sometimes we don't. And being that most of us aren't selling something that's immediately tangible, do you have takeaways that are applicable to us, or just some things that you would maybe with your experiences that we can then take and synthesize and then use with what we do to leverage some of the lessons that you've learned in your practices?
I think the most important thing, whether you're selling something tangible, intangible, whatever it is that you need to evoke an emotion in whatever you're doing. If you can make someone have a connection to whatever you're doing, whether it's a physical product or it's an image, it's music, anything, if they can develop that emotional attachment to something, then they're sold. And so I just think that's the most important thing. And controversy obviously makes someone feel a certain type of way, happiness does. And then if they have a product that makes them feel a certain type of way too, you just need to make sure that whatever you're doing, it elicits an emotion.
And to Adam's point, one of the things that whenever we do anything, we say we want to be remarkable. And remarkable, a lot of people think of it as a good thing, but really what it means is remark-worthy. So in whatever you do, whether it's creating a product, whether it's a design, whether it's composing music, whatever it is, you want to create that emotion that's that causes someone to feel either good, bad, because if you're just sitting in the center and you don't cause the needle to move at all, you're doing something wrong. And if you do it so that you feel like everyone likes what you're doing, you're not pushing yourself enough either, because you need to create that emotion, whether positive or negative, in people to make them feel that way. So for us, and whatever we do, whenever we do anything, we strive to be remarkable.
This is outside of the law, but what I've found is that the biggest thing you can do to support your marketing and your business is to work as a community, one at a time, and that is you can support each other. Each of you have an expertise, and whether you're in literally a resource bank or a co-op or at school or part of an alumni organization, you have skills that you can support each other with, information to share, resources to share, time to share, and you can market for each other. And the more you work and support each other, the more the word will get out about what your skills are, what your services are, and what your products are. And I think that the economy is changing, and we are more and more of a sharing economy, and that just even in this room, you guys can put your businesses way forward by working more together.
They're exactly right. You know, we live in a world where we are what we share. and we share things not because we think necessarily that our friends or followers are going to like them or respond to them or remark. And I think remarkable is the perfect word, but because it says something about who we are. I will give you just one. I'm going to use the La Perla example. Is that cool? So the closest I ever got to no money marketing was that it took me 30 seconds to do something that had a relatively profound effect. So it was pretty, it was inexpensive. On Mother's Day Sunday of this year, a friend of mine was walking down the street in Soho, New York City, and La Perla is a high-end lingerie store. And in the window, and you can Google La Perla skinny mannequin, you'll see the image he took. He sent me a picture of a mannequin that was all but anorexic in appearance. I mean, her ribs were showing her. It was not a healthy look. He sends it to me. He says, "This is so messed up." I said, "It is. Tweet this. I will take it from there." I have like 11 followers. I just have the right followers. So he tweets it, copies me on the tweet. I write back, I add a hashtag. The hashtag is not buying it, which is started by an organization in San Francisco called it's the Representation Project. They did Misrepresentation, the doc. And it's all about holding business accountable for their sexualization and objectification, right? So it's got an audience. I tweeted out, "Oh, this is terrible, not buying it. What do you think in La Perla?" I send a note to my friend who's in New York. I'm like, "It's 8 o'clock in California. It's 11 o'clock Mother's Day Sunday in New York. Let's go to bed. I'll pick it up in the morning." I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. My Twitter feed has gone crazy. We already have one reply from La Perla. Within 3 hours, La Perla had issued a formal, I had gotten into negotiations with La Perla. I was like a hostage negotiator. I was like, "I want this out of your window. I want this out of your stores, and I want..." They did it. They did it by 10:30 California time Monday morning. So mad props to La Perla. They recognized a mistake. They fixed it. They were responsive to the community that you were speaking of. One tweet did that. I cannot replicate that. I have not replicated that on what is more important to me, which is the Truth in Advertising Initiative. So that's, also sometimes you just get lucky. And we are all searching for the tipping point. And the tipping point comes sooner when we do exactly as Michelle said.
Question.
Is that your new tagline? Just tweet it?
It is now, unless you own the trademark.
Fair use.
Mike?
I have another question. So, talking about some of what it sounds like you're touching on maybe bottling lightning. I work for a big corporation. They are really concerned with ROI, return on investment, when it comes to marketing. Being that we're kind of in an inflection point right now where things are changing so quickly because of technology and because the metrics at which people use to measure a successful campaign. And the way that people use to measure a successful campaign, sounds like you guys have been really successful using new media, so Twitter, Instagram. What do you think the next 5 years is going to look like? What, as somebody that's thinking about or going to start a small business, where would you spend or shoot majority of your arrows for this current list or free marketing that you're talking about? I mean, our investment would be time. So where would we best spend that time? Maybe now and into the next 5 to 10 years.
Tinder.
I'll see you on Tinder, Ophelia.
Oh, God, no. Swipe right. Oops, no, that's left. Right. Okay. Go.
I mean, I think it's impossible to say 5 to 10 years from now because Instagram wasn't even around 5 years ago, and it's been such a big impact for us. I think, like, as a new business, it's like what they were saying. We spent, I guess, our marketing dollars on really research and development, and we kind of had the Field of Dreams approach, which isn't realistic. We just were dumb enough to do it, and it worked. And it's like, if you build it, they will come. And we really felt like if we built a compelling enough product that we knew enough of the right people, where if we could get it in front of them and they could see it, that they could help tell our story. And it goes back to the community aspect. Like, it wasn't our direct community, but if we knew that we could get enough people, and I think regardless of whatever platform comes up or whatever new social media is just to basically replicate what real life is, except for make it a highlight reel. And so the same points will always be relevant whether it's video, text, picture, anything, whatever it is. It's that you need to make people feel a certain type of way, and if you can get enough people involved to help lift the carriage, I guess, then it can roll faster. And so I think that the main thing should be is, if you're creating something, create the best fucking product you can, and then get as many people to help support you. And it's not support in terms of money, it's support in terms of like social equity and things like that, because it's like exactly what he was saying. Since he said 11 followers, but those were 11 important people, and they helped articulate what he was trying to say, and he made a change in 10 hours. Like, so it's somebody with...
I was sleeping for 8 of those.
Yes. Someone with 20,000 followers that don't matter couldn't have done that. It's just that he had the right people on his team, and that's basically what I think will always be.
Cultivating, or just is it like really almost like a bush training? I think you have the best possible people. You reach outside of like, so President Obama would be great, but like how do you get on?
You know what? I have 2 words that I always work with my students and clients: agility and awareness. Okay? In all business, I mean, clearly the best product possible, okay, and a sense of community and all of what I was saying, but you have to be agile and aware, and you have to have your marketing team be fundamentally just incredibly aware and agile so that they move to the tools that are best available at the time.
Do we have any more questions? Oh. While you're getting, what shoes are you wearing?
These ones are our APL Joyrides, and Ryan's are APL Techloom.
These are unisex. They're available for men and women at aplrunning.com.
And you're now selling at?
Saks Fifth Avenue. We're about to go into Nordstrom's, Net-a-Porter. And then we're opening up our flagship stores around the world.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My question is about monetization. As an example, I work for LA Weekly, and from what I've been told, a lot of people know my work. So but unfortunately, I'm just not making any money. I'm just literally not making any money. I got money back on my tax return because the government felt bad for me, but then the student loan company took it. The government was like, you didn't make enough money, here's $400. So so the thing is, 2 of my best known photographs are not credited me because of Twitter and Instagram grabbing them and making them go viral, but then no one credited me. So it's like, yeah, take them down. It doesn't help because you've destroyed any money I could ever make from that image. And so I'm just wondering, if I was writing an email to somebody as almost like a cold call, how do I say, you've probably seen my work, without seeming like a total douche?
I think these guys said it well, and I mean, I would just challenge you truly to think, what's the downside to seeming like a total douche, right? Which is, you have to stand for something. And if they know your work, I mean, what's the downside? Because they probably will know your work. And monetization is not just direct, it is indirect, right? These guys didn't monetize directly the ban, they monetized it indirectly, 9 months worth of inventory in 3 days. That was not a transaction, right? So be a douche. Don't worry about being a douche. I mean, nobody wants to be a douche. By the way, I can't believe I'm saying that word so many times. But don't worry about that. You are an artist, you are a creator, you have expressed yourselves. Not everybody's gonna like your work, not everybody's gonna like you. Okay, just go be you.
And might I add that you can still register copyright in your work and monetize it now.
I was just wondering, how did you guys maintain your momentum from the ban? Like, did you still manage to continue to sell that much product? Or it sounds like it, since you're getting into stores, like, how did you keep it going?
Yeah, I mean, for us, when we started, we were $300 was our price point. And I think it was in the 1-year anniversary of when we started the company, we took the price down a little bit lower. And then by doing that, it really allowed us to get broader distribution in terms of the people that wanted to buy the product. And for us, the momentum we've kept is the band was great to get people familiar with the brand. And so there's always kind of like they're aware of it. Like if we tell someone we're the brand, if they don't know APL, they a lot of times know the company that got banned by the NBA for creating shoes that made you jump higher. And for us, it was the products that we kept putting out that was really the momentum that kept it going. Whether it was colorways, whether it was a new design, whether it was a story we were telling behind the product, that's what really helped move us forward. And now moving into a new category, moving into running, which is very different than basketball, the fact that we have that heritage there of creating a product that was so superior in performance that it elicited this response, that's helped push us forward in that category. Whether it's the fact that we do have a shoe that makes you run faster, or our other models that don't necessarily have that technology, they expect something from our brand. And so it's really being able to take this event that, as they referred to, catching like lightning in a bottle, and how can you maximize that to last as long as possible? And it doesn't have to be a direct maximization of the actual band. It's how can it be tied into the DNA of the brand and what you do and pushing you forward. And that's kind of the approach we've taken. So you won't see banned by the NBA plastered all over our site now, but you will find it, and we still claim it because it's part of who we are and part of who the brand is.
I think it's interesting the whole idea of creating mythology behind your brand and trying to find what your narrative is. And I feel like that is the single most challenging thing to do when you're starting in a business, because really that's there's so much cachet there. And when you relayed your story, I felt like that was magic for you guys, but it was also kind of an anomaly, and it was a stroke of luck.
There was a ton of luck.
You worked your butts off to make great shoes, but one of the reasons why I'm here, and one of the things I'm searching for is how to create. We can talk about what we want our mythology to be, but how do we give it traction without spending a shitload of money?
Get sued.
Well,
but just really, just trying to create a snowball of your identity out there that people are going to grab onto, and that's I think the interesting thing that's bringing us all here. And I'm not sure what the trick is on that. I haven't really heard a strategy for that. I've just heard some anecdotes.
Well, I mean, there are probably 1,000 strategies for it, and sometimes they work. There is a great article I read recently by a guy named Frank Luntz, who's a Republican pollster, who, I wish I could remember the name, but I think if you Google Frank Luntz 10 questions to think about how you tell your story, he did a really good job with it. You'll get close enough that way. Look, I spent a lot of money out of my own pocket in 2.5 years of my life trying to create a narrative around a business that didn't work. So everybody, Coca-Cola is trying to figure out how to create that snowball effect for whatever brand they're working on today that you and I haven't heard of. You know what the odds are? The odds are they're not going to succeed, despite how much money they put into it. It is the single hardest thing to do in our culture is get a point across. So just be true, be simple, put things in a box. I wanted to break out of a box. That was the biggest strategic mistake I made. You got to put things in a box so people can categorize it. You can break out of the box once they understand it. But it doesn't matter what the strategy is. I mean, which is not to say that strategy doesn't matter, but the tactics or the expression of the strategy. Keep it simple, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. The odds are against all of us, because those are the odds.
To Seth's point a little bit, I mean, for us, I can only speak to what I know. And what I know is that in everything we've done, we've tried to be authentic in the way we've approached it in everything that we've done throughout the process. And for us, whether it was with APL, we started with a mission statement. And for us, we felt like our mission was we were going to create products that instantly improved an athlete's performance both on and off the field. And that's what we were going to stay true to, because we knew that that was going to be woven into the DNA of the brand, and that was really what guided us in every step and decision we were making. And I don't think like that there's something that's set in stone that every single person could do to create their mythology. But I think when you're true to what your core belief is and your core mission is, it makes it a lot easier to articulate to the consumer or to the viewer for them to really buy in. Because if they believe you, who either run the company or the brand itself, has that authenticity, they want to be a part of it. And if they feel like they can be a part of something, it really helps push it forward, whether they're doing it for your brand or they're being a part of it.
One last question over here.
I have a two-parter. They're for Michelle. The first one is, what's the statute of limitations on registering your copyright? And
You can register your copyright for 70 years after your family could register your copyright for 70 years after you die, or 70 years after the death of the author.
Okay.
So that's a long, long time.
And then, do you, in your recommendation, would it be easy enough for someone to do it on their own, or is it easier to get a lawyer to do it for us?
I don't think you need a lawyer at all, and I think you can come to Art Center. We're going to offer some workshops for alumni, and students can come Wednesday and Thursday from noon to 2 when I have office hours, and I'm more than happy to show people.
Great.
Alumni, too, you can come during my office hours.
Okay, I want to thank everyone. I hope you get banned by the Olympics.
There actually is a thing in the Olympic rule book that basically bans our technology. So if
There you go.
if we sponsor any athletes, I'm sure it'll happen.
Can I just here?
Yes.
I have a quote that I carry around. It took me a minute to find it. It's from Tom Peters, who is something of a legend in the business world and in management. He says, if there is a success formula, he tweeted this, so I believe I have fair use. If there is a success formula, then the algorithm writers will discover it, and you will join the ranks of the unemployed. Just take risks. The success formula usually doesn't lead you there. Sadly, there is no easy answer.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming. If you have a few minutes, these people will be up here or down there. You can say hi, introduce yourself. And thank you so much for coming to Art Center today. I appreciate it.